Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nova, and today we're going to be going in depth with the new Gunslinger subclass Way of 1,000 Cuts. Now, already I'm pretty sure you're going to be looking at my inventory here, looking at my armor, and wondering why in the world I have these gauntlets on. Now, these are the standard rolls that you can just pull from the collections right here. If you don't know where to go find them, I'll show you really quickly. You go to your exotic armor, you go over to armor, you go down to the hunter tab, and then whatever exotic you have, you can pull from right here in the screen for a certain amount of materials. So, what we're going to do really quick is look over the subclass, and then I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to properly use this new subclass, ways you can synergize it with certain exotics, and the most opportune time to try and, synergize some of the new perks with your gameplay. So starting off right here, we have the new super, which is Blade Barrage. Vault into the air and unleash a volley of solar charged explosive knives. Now what this does not tell you is that it also launches a second volley. So the first volley is the initial volley that you actually toss when you press your super button. Now depending on what your controller setup is, it may be L1 and R1, or it might be X, depending on if you're running jumper or not. Now once you press your super button, you launch the very first volley, which has an unlimited amount of targets to hit. Right after that, your character will then spin mid-air and launch a second volley. Now this volley can be aimed wherever you want it to be aimed at. Each volley does the initial damage, and then it does explosive damage, which is very nice, and this is very good for single target DPS or just complete ad control DPS. Now we're going to look at our melee here. Knife trick. Throw a fan of flaming knives that burns targets on hits. We have the synergistic perk down here. Destroying burning enemies recharge your knife trick more quickly. And then we have the burning edge. While enemies burn, your dodge ability recharges faster. Now this particular ability right here is actually really good for the synergies that I'm going to show you in a second. So the reason why I'm running Sealed Humcard Grasp is because of my Bad Omens and my Ikelos shotgun. Now I also use it with Bygones, but I'm going to explain why I'm using this right now. So the thing is, when you're using Way of 1,000 Cuts and you use the melee, which is known as the 3 shurikens, you can kind of compare them to that. It says 3 knives, but the way that he tosses them, they're more like 3 shurikens. So basically what happens is, when you toss these knives, they deal a crazy amount of base damage. Once they collide with the target, they deal the initial damage, and then they deal dot damage. The dot damage, which is categorized as damage over time, actually procs every second for 6 seconds. Every single second that you get damage from your melee knives, once they collide with the target, it actually counts as melee damage for the Sealed Humcard Grasp, which reloads any equipped weapon on melee damage. So one thing I did yesterday, which you're going to see in the clip coming up in a second, is I took myself to the Lost Sector, the Bay of Dreams in the Dreaming City, and I launched some throwing knives at the Lost Sector boss, shot a rocket, and the Sealed Humcard Grasp basically reloaded my magazine from reserves. So I was able to basically empty my entire rocket's reserves on that Lost Sector boss, just because the dot damage from the Way of 1,000 Cuts was able to sit here and replenish all of my ammo. Now we have another synergy that most people don't know about, simply because they don't either have the exotic or they just don't care to use it. Now the flavor text here can trip a couple of people up. It grants 2 knives per charge. So if you're running any other tree other than the middle tree, you're expecting 2 knives. You have the explosive knife, and then you have the knife juggler, where throwing a knife basically recharges the melee immediately. However, this still counts as a throwing knife. Although it tosses 3, it still counts as 1 charge. So funny thing is, you get 2 charges. And in case you did not hear me the first time, Destroying burning enemies recharges your knife trick more quickly. Now the catch with this is that you have 2 ways to earn playing with fire. Playing with fire stacks up to 3 times, which you will see in the clip later on in the video. And with each stack of playing with fire, your melee recharges even quicker than normal. So what you can do is just completely launch all of your knives at one target. That will actually kill the target. The first knife that hits will do the initial damage and cause burning. The second knife and the third knife will most likely kill that target, triggering playing with fire. If you are running Ophidius Faith, then you can launch your second set of knives at the next target, and that will grant you playing with the target times 2. That refills both of your charges. Once you hit playing with fire times 3, you basically have infinite melees. And with this new melee having such a high damage buff, this melee, in my opinion, is the strongest melee in the entire game in PvE. Now in PvP, obviously you're gonna have titans running around, shoulder charging and all that nonsense. However, in PvE, to be able to launch a couple of knives at a distance and burn a major with just 2 of your melees while brawler is on, and then have infinite melees because you're stacking brawler with playing with fire times 3, this is nuts. So what I'm gonna do is show you the new synergies with the Sealed Ahamkara Grasp and Way of 1,000 Cuts using the rocket launcher, and showing you how the dot damage causes it to reload every single rocket. And then I'm gonna show you some footage from a strike where I basically have infinite melees. So that's all from me, guys. Check out the Gunslinger if you haven't checked it out. This is actually a very, very good class. And I also have Shards of Galanor. Shards of Galanor is ridiculous. In PvE, you kill 6 to 7 targets, just, little red bars, and you're basically guaranteed a full super. You kill a couple of yellow bars, you're guaranteed a full super. In PvP, killing 2 targets grants you half a bar. 375 and 4 grants you a full bar of super. You are unstoppable with Shards of Galanor using Blade Barrage in any kind of game mode. So the Hunter's Way of 1,000 Cuts is looking like a really, really nice top tier class. And I really like the design on the Ophidius Faith. But that's enough about, my ranting. You guys enjoy the video, look at the synergies, make sure you understand it, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to leave a like, drop a sub if you enjoy the content and want to see some more content, and as I said before, I will catch you guys in the next. So here we are in a strike. Obviously you can see that my melee is charging, so we're going to go ahead and kill one of these guys. Alright, now you can see that we have playing with fire on our first stack. We're going to wait for that to regenerate.
Are trapped inside the infinite forest, locked in a combat loop. On the off chance one
now
of
we
them
have
escapes,
2 and 3 because I killed 2 targets there. Now it's just unlimited melee.
First time. We'll handle this.
If Brawler was on, I'd basically have unlimited melee. Obviously, if you spam both of these, you're probably gonna have to have 1 second, maybe 2 second cooldown. But Ophidius Faith plus this is ridiculous. Look at that crit damage, 23k. Are you kidding me? On a melee? It's ridiculous. 23k on a melee crit. Like, wow. That is some serious DPS. Look at that. That is amazing. Alright, I know there's a yellow bar up here, so I will see if I can actually go ahead and kill this man. Look at that. 11. Oh man, my teammate killed him. See you later. This is ridiculous, guys. Like 23k on a crit. These are just on on red bars. On the yellow bar, you saw it, 11k. That was nice, and that was only 1 knife that hit him. You get 11k for all 3 knives. That is nuts. So